Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's lecture, we will be diving into one of the very foundation of modern programming, that is object-oriented programming, or OOP for short. But what makes OOP so powerful and essential in today's world of software development? So the OOP is just not about creating objects, it's about designing systems that are scalable, maintainable, and intuitive. At its core are four fundamental principles, or as we call them, the pillar of OOPs. So let's see what are the pillar of OOPs. Pillars of OOP. Let's say, so the first one is encapsulation, and the second one is abstraction, and the third one is inheritance, and the third one is polymorphism. So we will continue with the four pillars. So first one comes is the polymorphism. The word polymorphism means having many forms in programming. For polymorphism means the same function name but different structures being used for different types. So polymorphism with class methods. The following examples show the best way to explain the polymorphism in class method. So while using the class method, I will not waste my time while writing the code. So I would just simply copy the code and paste it into the function. Let's copy, and then I'll be telling you how to use. So here we use the class function. In class function, we define the capital, that is self, where the New Delhi is the capital of India. Then we also define the language of country, which is Hindi is the most widely spoken language of country. Then we also spoke about the type. So India is a developing country. Now let's take another class, which was USA. So in USA, let's say that what is the capital, that is Washington DC, and what language they preferably use, that is English, and what type of these are, then USA is a developed country. So now that we have the two objects, that is object India and object USA, which are from the both countries, now using a loop to call the method for both objects, for country in object India and object USA, and country capital and country language. So let's see what we get as an answer in the output. So once we done this, then we get an answer that New Delhi is the capital of India. Hindi is the most widely spoken language of India, and India is a developing country, where Washington DC is the capital of USA, where English is the primary language of USA, and USA is a developed country. So this is how we get the answer when we use the polymorphism method, in that which is a pillar four pillar, which is from the four pillars of the OOP. So this is how you define the class, and once you define the class function, where classes were India, USA, and define the functions that capital was this and that, then it will directly print that function, where we get that New Delhi is the capital of India, Hindi is the most widely spoken language, India is a developing country, Washington DC, and etc etc. So this is how we use the function. Now comes the polymorphism with inheritance. Now we'll be working on another one, that is polymorphism with inheritance. So let's type it again, polymorphism with inheritance. So polymorphism with inheritance, what does it mean? It means that in inheritance, polymorphism means child class and parent class have the same name method. In inheritance, the child class inherits the method from the parent class. If there is a method that is inherited from the parent class and they are not working as child class, then we re-implement the method in the child class. So this type of re-implementing a method in the child class is known as method overriding. So once you do the method overriding, then it comes in the method of polymorphism with inheritance, where we re-implement a method in child class is known as overriding using the parent class. So for example, let me take one of the example and let's paste it here. So we have an example called that the class was bird and the other class was sparrow and the other class was ostrich. So you mentioned that bird is a parent class, whereas sparrow and ostrich, these are the birds but these are the child class. So what we get is there that defining the introduction, where there are many types of words. Then what is the flights? Because most of the birds can fly but same cannot. So where is sparrow? The flight will self because sparrow can fly, whereas ostrich cannot fly. So this is how we define the parent class and the child class, where polymorphism is inheritance, where the overriding is done on the child class, where we get the object as object bird, object sparrow, object ostrich, and where the calling methods is object bird intro, object bird flight, and same comes with the sparrow as well as with the ostrich. So let's clear the terminal and now print. So once we print, we get the answer, that is that there are many types of birds. Most of them birds can fly, but some cannot. There are many types of birds. Sparrow can fly. There are many types of birds. Ostrich cannot fly. So this is how we get the answer when we use the polymorphism with the inheritance. So now let's get with the another problem statement so that you can get the more defined. So let's copy this statement and let's see what we get the answer. And once we write this, and let me clear the terminal and now run the code. So once you run the code, then we get the answer as demo check and derive check. Now I'll be explaining you that the class was demo, where the define that the function should be check, where return demo is check, where you have to define a function again for the display, where print self check, or demo derived, which is check return derive check. So this was all done on the demo and the demo derived, which was also a function and example of polymorphism with inheritance. Now comes the encapsulation. So what is encapsulation? So let's say encapsulation. So in encapsulation, one of the most fundamental concept of object-oriented programming, we need to wrap more than one data types and methods together. So we need to wrap more than one data type, and this type of wrapping is called encapsulation. So encapsulation puts some restrictions on data variables and methods to access directly and can prevent accidental change. For this we use which we have read in the previous lectures. A class is an example of encapsulation in which we wrap some data types and methods together. So consider a real-life example of encapsulation. Let us assume that there is a student who has a name, roll number, father's name, mobile number, and address, etc. So now I would not waste my time. So let's take an example and you would be able to understand what we are here talking about. So in the class we have demo, and where we define the function with inheritance, okay, and where self dot a is equals to 1, where self dot underscore underscore b equals to 1, where we define the display where self returns the b for object orientation. Now let's run, and now we get the demo is checked and derivation is checked. So this is how we get the answer from the function. Now comes the inheritance. What? Inheritance. So inheritance is used to derive the properties of one class to another class. In general, the properties from the base class can be derived into subclasses. So the subclass contains the properties of the base classes as well as its own properties. There are three types of inheritance in Python. They are single inheritance, multiple inheritance, and multi-level inheritance. So what we say that there are three types of inheritance. So, so basically the one is called single inheritance. Another one is called multiple inheritance, and the third one is called the multi-level inheritance. So first comes the single inheritance. So the single inheritance is the subclass can derive the properties of only one base class. So the syntax for the single inheritance is given, whereas now we talk about the single inheritance, and where we say syntax.
And for the syntax, we use as the syntax of a single inheritance. We get the class child as a parent child, and so syntax, the class is equal to base class, where the body of base class is the class subclass name or base class, where body of subclass is a single inheritance and can only inherit the public properties of the base class. So there is only a single code. So for let's take an example where I'll not waste my time in typing the code. So I'll just simply copy it and let's see what we get as an output. So here comes the class with India, where we take the back example where we use that capital is New Delhi is the capital, Hindi is the most widely spoken language, India is developing country, Washington DC is the capital of USA, and language and USA is developed. Where we use object, but now using a loop to call the method for both, we use countries in object and country dot capital and country dot language and country dot type. So let's see what we get as an output. So before that, let me clear the terminal. Clear. Now run the terminal. So here we get the answer is now New Delhi is the capital, Hindi is the most widely spoken, India is developing, DC is the capital, English is the primary language, and USA is a developed country. So the output is given and the properties of subclasses are also being sent to us. Now comes the multiple inheritance. Now we will be looking forward to multiple inheritance, where the syntax is that class child parent 1 parent 3 and parent 2. So in multi inheritance the subclasses derives the properties of more than one base class. So whereas when we were in single inheritance it has only a one base class, but when we are multi inheritance it has the multiple or subclasses derived for the properties of more than one classes. The syntax will be given as this. And now if I say that, let's take an example where, let's see. So if I say that class A has 200 and class B has 100 and class C, which is AB, which is a multiple inheritance, where Z equals to 300 is a class attribute in class C, because it where it comes from, where C, when A and B, I hold there is an addition between them. When defining the function 1, which is the instant method in the class C, where the print properties of subclass were self x, self y, self z, and creating an instance of class C. So object 1 is our class C and object 1 is defined by calling the method function 1 using the object. So now before that, clear. And now run the terminal. What is happening? Why it is not? Let's run again. So yes, we get the output which was as properties of subclasses are 200, 100 and 300. So here we get the answer of the object 1 which was C class, and we get the properties which was been of self x, self y and self z. So this is how we use the multiple inheritance. Now comes the multiple level inheritance. What comes? Multiple level inheritance. Now let's say syntax of multiple level inheritance, where it comes with a class parent class and where code is being executed. So let's say that in multiple inheritance the properties of base class are derived into subclasses. The properties of subclass are derived into subclass 2. The syntax of multi-level inheritance is given as that it will the parent class, then it will goes into the child class, and then it comes again into the code, and then it goes into the example where child class inherited from the parent class. So now let's take an example to make it more clear to you. Let's say that there is a class A, class B, class C, and let's move here. And let's say that class A has 200 attributes in class A, which is a base class, whereas a B is a subclass of A, which has attributes of 100, which are in subclass B, where the function was defined to display the subclass properties but call method from class A. So the class B is a subclass of class C is a subclass of B, which is also a subclass of A. So in multi-level inheritance, there is a parent class which have a child class, parent class, then it goes into the child class, parent class. So this is how the multiple times you can get into class, subclass, 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 subclass. So now let's clear the terminal and see what we get as an output. So now we get an output that property of base class is 200, which is okay. The another one is 100. Now yes, that is also defined. The third one has 300. That is also defined. So this is how we use the statements, the multi-level inheritance. So thank you so much for the lecture. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with more exciting content. And as always, feel free to drop your questions and feedback in the comment below. We love hearing from you. Thank you. Bye bye.